2026 is going to be the end of John Deere's 1025R. Yep, in 2027, the 1 Series is going to go through some pretty big changes. Now I say big changes because throughout the years, the 1025R has been around since 2013. The 1025R replaced the 1026R, manufactured from 2011 to 2012. So when the 1025R replaced the 1026R, the primary changes was really a reduction in horsepower to comply with emissions regulations. Not much happened to the 1025R until 2018, and that's what this is right here. And in 2018, later models feature an updated, more comfortable operator station, including a revised backhoe design with an integrated seat and step. But without referencing serial numbers or looking at the little tag on the frame here, if you were to line up a 2015 1025R along with this and then maybe a 2025, I probably could not tell the difference between the three. So not only is the 1025R going away, it's really kind of just getting a new designation and a makeover. Same with the 1023E. And also the 2025R. Actually, they're taking the 2025R out of the 2 Series lineup and putting it down with the 1 Series lineup. So let's delve into the 1 Series a little bit more, and we'll start off with the replacement for the 1025R, which is going to be the 1M25. Almost sounds like the EM50 project.
These are exactly the kind of go-getters I want working on my EM50 project in Italy.
But sir, these men are...
Don't butt me, Captain.
The John Deere 1M25 features a new bold styling, a factory-installed HVAC cab option, improved hydraulic third functions, and a one-piece hood. The 1M25 is designed to increase operator comfort, and along with the 1R25, include standard LED lighting and smart connectors for telematics. Now the engine and the powertrain is basically the same as the 1025R. Now, probably the biggest change is the option to get the factory installed cab. And one nice thing about the new cab that they have is that it is shorter. It'll fit in a 7-foot garage door opening. This will not. That is one of the drawbacks that I have with this cab, is that I cannot fold down the ROPS because of the cab being here. So the ROPS are fully extended, and the ROPS are still used for protection on this setup here. This is a Curtis cab. One of the only cabs that you could buy that was hard-sided, and you could still operate a backhoe off the back. Sadly, with the new cab option on the 1M25, is it's not going to be capable of having a backhoe on the back. That's not too terrible for most folks, because from what I understand, about 20 to 30% of the people that buy a 1025R will get the backhoe on it, but majority of the people that purchase this tend to go without a backhoe. But air conditioning is a big deal. It's going to sit on top. There's going to be a condenser inside the engine compartment here, and then you'll have your lines going up top. You'll have your fan and your air conditioner functions up top here, and it looks like it takes up a pretty good space. It's going to come off the back here and lean out of the back a little bit, about a 16-inch overhang. So if you're tall like me, you might have some issues when it comes to hooking up your 3-point attachments. And if you're down here fiddling with it, I would probably bump my head on the new cab design. Another thing that I noticed about the new cab design is it's very similar to this Curtis cab. It just has rubber gaskets around here. It's still pretty much open. It has openings wherever you have your control levers, so you can see daylight when you're looking down below. One thing about having this Curtis cab is it's very noisy on the inside, especially when you have the doors and all the windows on in the wintertime. And I would like to narrate during more of my videos on the inside of the tractor, but it's just so darn loud. It's not practical to do it. Once in a while I will, but I'm usually shouting very loud. We're in pretty good shape. All in all, I think we got about a foot of snow right in that area. I'm a little disappointed that it's not going to be a little bit more airtight and maybe a little bit quieter in there. One thing I can say about if you do have air conditioning in the summertime, if you're going to be using a brush hog or one of the rotary cutters, when I do it down in southern Ohio and I'm down there and it's kind of dry out, it really kicks up a lot of dust. And it just gets everywhere, it gets inside the cab. It would be nice to be from a dust-free atmosphere to have everything sealed up in there. So I can see that being a nice advantage. You can get a radio as an option on the new cab feature, but again, I do not know how loud it's going to be in there. So I just don't know how practical that is. It doesn't seem like it's going to be any different than with the Curtis cab, the way things are sealed up here. From floor to top of the new cab, it's going to be about 77 to 78 inches, which will allow you to get in that 7-foot garage door. That's one drawback about this cab, is that it's just a little too tall for me to get into a garage. And there are times where I'd like to park this in the garage and pull one of my other vehicles in here and have the room to work on one of my other vehicles, whether I want to clean it out really nice or just do some maintenance on it. But this will not fit in the garage. It won't fit in the shed down in Southern Ohio. So having that lower cab height will be nice. Another thing about having the factory installed cab is I wonder how it's going to be when it comes to your center of gravity. I know when I added this cab that it really made a difference, and it made the tractor a lot more tipsy. I ended up putting wheel spacers in here to widen up the width of the wheels, but I wonder just how heavy the center of gravity is going to be. That's one thing to look out for. It doesn't look like the width of the new tractor has changed any compared to this one, and it looks like that cab itself weighs about 650 pounds of additional weight. And if you think of all that weight is a lot more top heavy. The new one will have a standard tilt wheel, and they adjusted the instrument panel a little bit. They made it more digital. The fuel gauge is integrated into the digital cluster on the instrument panel. There is no more fuel gauge off to the side, no analog type gauge. To me, I think that's a little bit nicer that you can see that gauge, especially like if I'm plowing snow at night. It was always a little bit harder to see how much fuel I had left on the gauge. The hood on the 1M25 is going to be all one piece. So the whole hood is going to lift up in unison in one piece. You don't have where this hood just lift off to the top. Then you'd have to disconnect each side depending what type of service you were doing to it. Always made it a little bit more difficult to work with, especially now that I got a cab on here. One thing I do wonder though is a lot of folks will be working in the woods and they might take a stick or something through the front grill or ding something. Now, will you have to replace that whole hood if you do some damage to the side of it or the front of it? Or will it be a panel that you could replace instead of the whole hood itself? I gotta say, there were a lot of complaints when this tractor went to plastic hoods, and I kind of like it myself. It's been easier to maintain. I don't have any dings in it. There's some minor scratches, but not as bad as if I were to have a metal hood. Same thing with the sides. It's lightweight and easy to get off. The front grill guard, if you want to gain access to the new tractor, what you'll do is you'll just pull a lever, the front grill guard will fold down, and then this whole hood system will come up. There's no longer a little key or screwdriver you need to depress to bring this hood up and unlock it. There's a push button on it. So I think the new tractor itself is going to be a little bit more maintenance friendly when it comes to changing filters, filling oil, and things along those lines. Also changing the battery. I had to change the battery last summer, and it was kind of a pain in the butt to do it. I had to take out the headlights to get to the battery so I could pull it out. Where this new one, it doesn't look like you're going to have any of those issues. Another little design change is that the exhaust. The exhaust here just points forward. And whenever you start it up, you get that big cloud of black soot coming out of here, and it usually just stains the side of my engine cover and also leaves black soot here on the kickstand for releasing the loader. So what they've done is they've redirected that so it is not going to be blowing out any of your attachments, especially when it comes to plowing snow, or if you have a snow blower, it won't be blowing on that, melting the snow and then refreezing and making it a little bit harder to clear that snow off. When it comes to the loader, it still looks like that they have a 120R loader. It doesn't appear that anything has changed along with that. You can get this with a third function already factory installed. Level indicator rod here is moved onto this side to make room for the hydraulic changes with the third function, and also to have the quick connect. 6-connection quick connect can also be purchased as an option. When it comes to technology, this is going to come standard with the smart connector for integration with John Deere's equipment mobile app, providing real-time data, maintenance alerts, and diagnostics. Appears that all the lighting has changed to LED lights. You're going to get standard LED headlights and work lights. LED lights use less power and they are brighter. So maintenance-wise, there's a pretty hard to grease fitting to get on the undercarriage here, and that appears to be a little easier to get to on the new model. Okay, cosmetically, the fenders have changed a little bit if you look at the profile of the tractor. Also, the headlights have changed a little bit. The grill's changed a little bit, of course, since now the whole hood is encompassed on the sides here when you lift it up. So they did some cosmetic changes to that. So when you're inside the operator station here, it's relatively the same. The knobs might have a little bit of a finishing touch. There's a few little things tweaked inside here. Of course, they changed the emblem on the seat quite a few years ago. Some of the levers have gotten a little bit different. If you're going to get the third function, you're going to have a different lever here up on the front. But if you do take a look at the overview of the 1025R and then you look at the overview of the new 1M25, there's very little that's different. Before I put this cab on, we used to have the work lights mounted down here that were adjustable and flexible, and now the work lights are actually mounted similar to what I have here, but they're facing forward. So they've moved the LED work lights. They used to be mounted here on the rear fenders, and now they're up here by your flashers and hazard lights. Is there a change in the wheelbase? How about lift capacities? Let's take a look at the numbers. Okay, so you have the 1025R on the left and the 1M25 on the right. And it appears there might have been a typo under the pamphlet for the 1025R, but it appears that it's the same engine. The horsepower looks to be the same, although I don't know why the 1M25 is a little bit less. Now the stats on the 3-point hitch, again, pretty much the same. I think the 1025R is a little bit more detailed with the decimal point, but it's 758 pounds for both. Wheelbases are, again, identical, 57.1 inches. And the weight is a little bit different, and I'm not positive in their stats. The weight on the 1025R is the dry weight. Now the 1M25 is about 50 pounds heavier, and I don't know if that's because it might be including fluids such as oil and hydraulic fluid, or maybe that's the extra weight from the addition of the third function. And lastly is the loader lift capacity, both of them right around 802 pounds. Nothing has changed on that. So that is the comparison of the 1025R and the 1M25. Let's just talk a little bit about the 1023E. Now there is a alternate version of that, which is just a scaled down economy model. If you go on John Deere's website, you can still purchase and order and build a 1025R. But come 2027, I'm sure that'll be phased out. Right now, the 1M25 doesn't appear to have any sort of order type features. If I had to buy another tractor again, boy, I'd really have to think about it, because when I bought this, it was a tractor loader backhoe, and I got it for $19,500 out the door. And they were offering free financing at the time too. Now it's almost $19,500 just for the bare tractor itself, without the loader and without the backhoe. So the 1023E is going to be replaced by the IE23, and there's some subtle differences to that compared to the 1023E. And then the 2025R, which is considered a 2 Series tractor, is now going to be a 1 Series tractor, and that is going to be renamed the 1R25. If we want to look at the numbers on that also, it appears that that is just going to replace the 2025R. It's got the longer wheelbase and some other features, but the numbers seem to jive more of a 2025R, but I don't know if the frame itself has been modified. So comparing the 2025R with the 1R25, again, it's the same engine as we spoke of earlier, same type of horsepower, again, a little bit less horsepower with the 1R25. The lift capacity is better than the 1M25, and it is 915 pounds. That's what it was for the 2025R. The wheelbase, 63 inches, so a little bit longer. The weight has actually gotten a little bit lighter with the 1R25, and I'm not sure why. That's why I'm a little concerned of exactly how the frame is on the new tractor compared to the old 2025R. Comparing the 1025 and the 2025, you definitely could tell the frame was different and much larger on the 2025. There isn't a 1R25 out in the wild yet, so I can only go by pictures, and it's kind of hard to tell. If anybody out there has insight or have seen these tractors in person, I would appreciate if you leave a comment down below. When you compared the 1025R to the 2025R, the frame itself was modified and larger, and basically I don't know if that's going to occur with the new models itself. But that's basically, in a nutshell, some of the changes that are coming up. I kind of would like to see them in person. I still have a lot of questions that I'd like to get answered when it comes to having the cab and some of the other features on the new tractor. I'm a person that does like to see advancements in things, and I hope that there's no step backwards here and that things are a little bit better and that you get a little bit more features, because you definitely are paying a little bit more money for things. It would be nice to see one in person, but again, that's not going to be coming out probably sometime in October or late fall. But that's going to do it for today. I appreciate everybody watching. I hope you enjoy and subscribe to these videos. Click on that little bell when you want to know when a new one is coming out. And keep an eye on us. Take care, everybody.